So now we got our back leg assembly and our front leg assembly. We're ready to put them together. So this part is the number one. I know I keep saying this, like this is where it's really good to have two people, but this part is truly nightmarish to do on your own. So if you've been trying that up to this point, don't. We're gonna need rungs coming out of these 6 holes. So we're gonna put glue in all 6 of these holes, and we're gonna put glue in all 6 of these holes. And the order of operations here is gonna be glue in the front assembly, rungs in the front assembly, and then you're gonna lower the front assembly onto the back assembly with the rungs in, and your partner's going to make sure that they, like, you know, sync up nicely. The whacker can be useful for this step because you can use it to sort of tap things into place loosely before you clamp things. So let's get the band brush, thank you. And we'll go glue, glue. And rungs. We're gonna put 1, 2, 3, the phone. And kind of twist them into place here. And we'll get ready to lower. So, Zach, if you want to help me out on that side, making sure that these line up and get tucked in there. I'll give it to you if you need it. And then I'm going to pull this way. Woo!
Okay.
Yep. It's like an octopus. It's like, the best. All right.
What is going on with this last one?
Hit. Dun, dun, dun. And is that gonna go in? Maybe if I hit this middle one. Yeah. Hey, those are in holes approximately.
This is
That's okay if it's close, it's good. So we're gonna
Okay.
set it up. We're gonna stand it up now, like so. It's very delicate's not the word, but like it could easily pop apart at this point. If it is, just put it back in the holes and give it another shot. You're gonna use 3 clamps for this part. 6, sorry, 3 on each side, so 6 clamps total. You're gonna take, you're gonna take your first one and just send it in, oops, sorry, underneath, like over the front bar here. It can kind of rest on there, and under the back rung here. And have your partner just squeeze to start tightening, just so it like hugs it. Nice, stop. And then next clamp, you're gonna go, again, it's always resting on the front rungs and just kind of hanging out on the back. Go ahead and tighten, just so it goes, yeah. And then a third one. And then this will rest on, yeah, the front and the back front. And more. Great. Now, same thing over here. Oh yeah, always good to lefty-loosey your fine-tuners before you start any of these steps. And go ahead and squeeze that till it just goes. If you're the person holding back here, make sure that you're keeping this, again, like really parallel. You know, if this is skewed, like if it's up here, it'll want to pull the chair out of alignment, out of squareness. All right, nice. So now we got our clamps all in place. Now,
Done.
the idea, not done. The idea now is we're going to tighten these in unison, like a turn at the top, turn in the middle, turn at the bottom. Yeah, we're gonna go, well, yeah, if we had 3 hands each, you know, this would be ideal, but as it is, we're just gonna go, like, 1 turn on the top, or like a half turn, I guess. And then 1 turn on the middle, 1 turn on the bottom. Keep the whacker at hand in case you should be watching all of the connection points. If you notice that one in particular is kind of seized or stopped up, like it doesn't want to go in farther, give it a whack. so that it can do what it needs to do. 1, 2, 3. So let's folks do the bottom again. Bottom, middle. And tighten until, you know, we're hand tightening these, where you're tightening until it's no longer comfortable to tighten. Then we'll give them all a whack. And truly, like, go full bam bam with this. Like, you can't hurt it. It's the more vibration there is, the better idea you'll get of, like, whether you're really done tightening those clamps. I think we're done tightening those clamps. Good job.
That's how you build a chair.
That's it. That's the chair. This is so all of this, the gluing and the clamping and the everything. One of the kind of divergences that we took this year because of our fun surprise pandemic was that historically the order of operations for this goes like make parts, assemble chair, sand, stain, seal, weave, blah blah blah. We had to change it up a little bit to where you were sanding the parts before we assembled, which means you don't have to sand once the chair is assembled, but which also meant that all of the parts dried out to where they were had about the same moisture content. Throughout the year, when we were storing the parts, if you remember, the legs, everything with holes drilled in, lived in the humidor, right? In that box, which we would put like a wet towel in and just keep things damp. The rungs were living out in the classroom in the wild, like just in, you know, this room which is heated in the winter and it gets very dry. The rungs got very, very dry, or they came to equilibrium with their environment, right? Like wood likes to do. So did the legs, but their environment, which was much wetter, it was inside the humidor. We do this so that when we make the tenons, when we use that bike and make the bit that's going to go into the hole on the rungs, we're making it on dry rungs. They're as dry as they're going to be when we assemble. When we do the drilling for the holes in the legs, we are doing the drilling while they are wet, which means that the hole is, so it's a 1/2 inch tenon and it's a 1/2 inch hole, but the wood that's been wet, once it's out in the wild like this, is going to shrink. We know that as wood loses moisture content, it shrinks. By drilling these holes at a 1/2 inch when it's wet, that hole actually shrinks around the tenon in the dry rung when you assemble the chair. Which is why, among several reasons why I had you bring all your parts back here rather than me just like sending you clamps, is because I wanted to rehumidify the legs so that when you go to do this assembly thing, you are A, not trying to fit 1/2 inch tenons into slightly less than 1/2 inch holes, and B, so that you have that extra like almost like vacuum seal effect that comes when the wettish wood of the legs shrinks around the dry wood of the tenon and they come to equilibrium. This is helped along by the glue, obviously, but really the reason these chairs will last for so long, like literally generations, is because of that relationship between wood and moisture that lets them like seal together like that, and because humankind has figured out how to manipulate that relationship to our benefit. Wow. So that's all that to say. That's the spiel, by the way, that I was going to give you if I had been able to come to your house with these and do this, because the amount of time I've spent yakking about that is about how long you need to leave this clamped. We can take these clamps off now, and that's what we're gonna do.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's fast, right? The glue actually also helps that moisture thing kick into high gear, because as soon as you put the glue in there, like it starts to swell because it's absorbing the moisture of the glue, so it's all a pretty quick process. It is also, to reiterate, why it's so important to, like, if you realize mid-assembly that you've done something wrong or that you need to start over for any reason, use the whacker and bust it apart as quickly as you can, because the longer it sits in this state, the harder it will be to separate. Now, check and make sure your ground is level. First of all, the ground in here is not level, so I'm not going to consider this a game-stopping wobble. But if you find that you do have a game-stopping wobble, you can clamp it creatively on like a stack of books, or you can set a board on it and set something heavy on it overnight or for a couple of days, and it'll kind of like settle into that new sort of level plane. So that's your assembly instructional tutorial. And up next will be staining, sealing, and a little refresher on weaving. Stay stay tuned. Bye.